Hello, this is Dave. A lot of people are finding it difficult to understand what's really going on in this world. And yeah, I don't blame them because it looks extremely confusing. Turns out we were born into a world that was constructed by demons, by monsters dressed up as humans. A lot of people have heard me talk about the fallen angels and the Nephilim. Well, that's absolutely real. Right? These creatures have taken on human form, but they're not human. They walk amongst us, and most of the time we can't tell who they are. We have names for them. Psychopaths is one name, and when you use the word psychopath, most people think of a psychopath as, some lunatic with a machete or something. No, a psychopath is somebody who looks very normal and seems to act in public, just like everybody else does, but they're just playing a role. Inside they have no empathy, they have no care, they have no remorse for any of the wicked things they might do. Right? They're not like humans. I'm saying they are a different species whatsoever. We're constantly fooled by them, by their fake smiles as they stab you in the back. Real humans do not rape children or terrorize them and then kill them so that they can get a drug high off their adrenalized blood. They don't hunt people and eat them afterwards. They don't do all these atrocious things, some things that we don't even know about. Right? We don't even want to know about because they're so utterly abominable. A term has come up for these people, which is came about organically, I think, the Epstein class, and that sums them up. This Epstein class of people have created this society around us. It was never good. It was never meant for our benefit. It's always been this evil construct, right, that has us competing against each other for scarce resources. That was never good. It was never for our benefit, even though it might have looked like it, but it was never for us. It was never humane. It wasn't built for humans. It has us competing for scarce resources, even though this earth is abundant. It's cyclically abundant. It's always producing more than we can ever need. Right? This society has us desperately seeking protection against external, threats, where the threats are really internal. The threats are from those people masquerading as us. They've created this system so that there's only one way to live in this earth. And that is the purpose they've given us for our lives. It is go to school, get a job, earn their money, buy meaningless stuff to distract ourselves, retire and die. That is the purpose they've given us. I don't think it's a good purpose, right? But here's the thing. All of it requires you to voluntarily comply. You have to go along with it. You have to just accept it and just plod along with the rest of the sheep. And I use that word sheep, deliberately because it's exactly what we've done. We've allowed to happen. Yeah, just like sheep, we literally look around and think, well, how are we going to live our life? And we just follow the sheep in front of us because obviously they know what they're doing, don't they? We don't know that right up in front is what's known as a Judas goat. Yeah, a specially trained goat that leads the sheep to the abattoir. this society was all very easy to live in. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even maybe the 90s, it was easy to go along with this system. In fact, it seemed that you could just switch your mind off and you'd just be on rails. There were plenty of their jobs that you could go slide straight into after school. And if you lost a job, I remember this time where you lost a job on Friday, you could walk into one on Monday. Yeah, it was easy. Right? It was easy to get a house. I remember just blindly walking into some office and signing a bit of paper, and we had a house. Right? It was easy to pay this mortgage thing. Yeah, it was easy to buy stuff. There seemed to be lots of money around, and we could just buy meaningless stuff. Right? But now it's about to become impossible to live in this system. How did we get here? Well, I've already sort of mentioned it, when you look out at nature, right, you look out at a bird, right, that bird, it flies down and it has tricks to make worms come up, and it's on its own, it's smart, it's clever, yeah, it knows what to do, right, to ensure its own survival. But when you get hundreds or thousands of birds all together, their behaviour changes. They start moving together almost telepathically. Well, it is telepathically. If anyone has ever seen a murmuration, right? All these birds, thousands of birds, all in the sky, all together, flying all at once. They're not bashing into each other. They're moving organically. And if, say, a predator comes towards them, they all move at once. There's no, oi, there's a predator there. Hey, pass it on. They all move at once. Okay. Same with a school of fish. Same with a flock of sheep. Yeah. When you get this herd together, they defer to the herd. It's like their natural abilities, their natural skills, and their own thoughts go out the window, and they defer to the herd. In Men in Black, Tommy Lee Jones said it, perfectly.
Well, why the big secret? People are smart; they can handle it.
The person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
So that's why they herd us together in towns, and then cities, and now 15-minute cities. Yeah, it's if they can get you in that herd mentality, they can control you much easier. Right? That's the point. If on your own, you're uncontrollable. You do what you feel is best for your own survival, and you're uncontrollable. But if they herd you together in these cities or in any kind of grouping, right, you end up a victim of herd mentality, and they can control you. And they use law to control you. But the thing about law, real law is only there to prevent you from doing what is wrong. Law cannot compel you to do something. Right? They can't force you to do something against your will. Yeah? You are a unique individual, and you have a purpose in this world. Right? But as I said, your purpose has been hijacked. I remember the moment I realised that my purpose was being, beaten out of me. When I was 13, I went through this process called options. So at 13, you were supposed to decide what you were going to do with the rest of your life. Yeah, you were presented with a set of subjects that you were going to have to choose to learn, and that would set what you could probably do for the rest of your life. Put aside the fact that before you entered the school system, your options were unlimited. You could do whatever you wanted, and I bet when you were a child you knew what it is you wanted to do, but then this schooling system narrowed your options down to a set of subjects that you could, pursue. And as I remember, if you wanted to do metalwork, well, it was arranged that you couldn't do woodwork at the same time. Yeah, so, if you wanted to do physics, you couldn't do, technical drawing, whatever. It was like at 13 you had to, really think, what is it I want to do for the rest of my life? It's ridiculous, right? And if you manage to hold on to, your purpose, even through the options, then it was finally stamped out of you when you had to speak to the careers officer. And if you wanted to be an artist, your careers officer will say, no, you're not going to make money doing that. Here's an apprenticeship down at the electronics factory over there. It would be beaten out of you. As I said, you knew what you wanted to do, what you wanted to be when you were a child. But this whole society has been set up to stop you being you, to literally stop you being yourself and finding your purpose. They put you into this system, but there are an infinite number of ways to live outside of their system. The trick is to find yours, find the way that suits you the best. What happened to me was I got this feeling, I was renting a house, a 3-bedroom house, really just in case my children wanted to come and stay. I had bedrooms for them. Yeah, so I was renting this house and my children, would sporadically come over and whatever, but I was rattling around in this house, spending all this money and, paying bills and whatever, and realised that, what am I doing? Why am I living this way? I was working to pay for a house and pretty much that's it, and pay the bills and that's it. Well, what was I doing with my life? I got this urge to buy a motorhome. So I bought this motorhome and it sat parked outside for must be nearly a year, I suppose, because I didn't know what to do next. But fate took a hand and I ended up, setting out in this motorhome without a destination, and then found a destination came to me. And when I reached that destination, I got further instructions to the next destination, and so on and so on. And I built my own life, my own way, which was not depending on the system. Right? Obviously, to be in this world, you have to kind of graze against the system. Yeah, you have to. I still have a passport, for instance, because there is no way of getting out of the country without, some bod saying, "Can I see your passport, please?" Well, I'm sorry, if you ain't got a passport, you can't go past. All right, so sometimes you still need some of their accoutrements to function in this world, but for the main part, I don't have any attachments to the system, and I'm living my own way. And the thing is, you can live your own way, because this is what the world or the earth, this reality is set up for, right? In effect, and this is some of the stuff that I'm finding out about how the world works. this is your world. Now, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by this is your world? All right. Well, think about it like this. Imagine Call of Duty. You know, Call of Duty, the online version. You know, a video game where you play a character in this world. Okay. Now, obviously, the programmer on the main servers built this entire world. But you, as a player, will load up the game on your personal computer and then log into that world. Well, even though you're sharing a world with millions, maybe thousands or millions of users all around the earth logging into this world, your computer is generating that world for you, just for you. Okay. Now you might meet other characters, but those characters are just being generated in your world. They're not part of your world. They're just, being shown up on the screen of your world. Your world is being generated for you, and this is what's happening, in real life. Right? As crazy as it might sound, this is your world, and it's being generated just for you. And you have control over that world. Now, part of what this system is doing is distracting you from knowing that you have this ability, you have this control. Okay, but the world wants you. The world wants you to be an individual. The point of our lives is to create novelty, but because every one of us is unique, right? Your unique self, right, will create something new just by living your purpose, right? Because your purpose is unique, okay? And one of the things that drove me when I set out in my van, the last straw, was watching a video which was one of the talks from Terence McKenna. It still moves me to this day. It's called Nature Loves Courage. Nature Loves Courage, and I listened to that talk, and it was the final spur to make me set out on this adventure that I've been on. So here's Nature Loves Courage.
There is a sort of fair play. You've been told from the cradle that the deck was stacked against you. Fall of man, original sin, so forth and so on. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. There is a sort of fair play. And if you can get in touch with that in your life, when Muhammad wouldn't come to the mountain came to Muhammad. That's fair play. And if you can have that perception, the world will begin to work for you. It will begin to move toward you as the mountain moved toward Muhammad. The mushroom said to me once, nature loves courage. Nature loves courage. And I said, what's the payoff on that? And it said, it shows you that it loves courage because it will remove obstacles. You make the commitment, and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible dream, and the world will not grind you under. It will lift you up. This is the trick. This is what all these teachers and philosophers who really counted, who really touched the alchemical gold, this is what they understood. This is the shamanic dance in the waterfall. This is how magic is done. It's done by hurling yourself into the abyss and discovering that it's a feather bed. And there's no other way to do it. This is why I have always taken the position that as modern people, we can't go out and set armies marching or launch religions, and who would want to anyhow. But to the people who say adventure has fled, it's all humdrum, I just know, that they have forgotten the 5 grams of psilocybin sitting in their refrigerator. I mean, Magellan may have had excitement rounding the Horn, but you in your living room later tonight can put him in the shade if you have the courage to do the things that are necessary to do. And we know what they are. And of course, the first thing to do is to tell society to fuck off, because they don't know what's going on.
So nothing is impossible. Nothing in this world, your world, is impossible. Only improbable. Right? But here's the thing. Here's your power. Your power is to change probabilities. Okay? With your attention or your desire. Your desire for something will alter the probabilities of that thing happening. Okay? As I said, nothing is impossible, because the source of this world is infinite. Just like you can think of anything, literally anything that doesn't exist, you can think of it, you can imagine it. Okay? That is the wellspring from which everything in this world comes from. Yeah? The source of this is infinite. So as soon as you conceive of something, there's now a probability of that thing existing in the future. And the more you put your attention on it, your desire on it, the higher the probability becomes, until it becomes 100%, and here it is. Right? Whether you bring it into the world, or somebody else brings it into the world, or somebody brings it to you, or whatever, it will come into existence. So it's a question of focusing your desire, your attention on whatever it is, and allowing that to alter the probability, to make it more and more real and likely to come into reality. Right? And finally, the key point here is to know it already exists. Right? If you can know or assume that it already exists, that is the almost like the go button, right? Because every moment, there are thoughts flitting across your head. Yeah. So this world would be really chaotic if every thought you had came into material reality. There has to be a process to kickstart that realization, that manifestation. How many times have you needed something and, not really worried about it, but thought, I need this thing, and then, it comes to you? Or asked a question and somebody walks past muttering the answer, or whatever, things like that. Just when you need it, something comes to you. The best analogy I have for this is the 3D printer. Imagine you wanted to design something. Your conscious mind would be the pad and pencil. So you'd make a pencil sketch, and this is what you want, right? This is what you consciously want. That's your left brain. Okay, you use your right brain to define in detail what it is you want. Now that would be, the analogy there would be the 3D software, where you take that pencil sketch and then define it. You know what the measurements are, you know exactly what the angles of things are, and you define this thing in detail. That's how your left brain will work if you're, in your imagination designing something. Okay? Now, it's all very well making the design, and you've got it exactly perfect the way you want it. But the 3D printer isn't going to build this thing until you hit the start button. And that start button is you now knowing that this is going to, materialize into reality, knowing and assuming that it is already here. That's the start button. As soon as you hit the start button, now the 3D printer can make that thing real. Okay? That's how this world works. It's like a 3D printer, only this 3D printer not only prints objects, it prints experiences and circumstances. Right? So you can have whatever you want to have, right, by following this process of desiring what it is you want, defining it in detail, and then assuming and knowing it's already here. That's pressing the button, the start button, and off it goes. And at some point, that object, that experience, will materialize into reality. So this is the thing, you can go your own way. You literally can go your own way and create the experience that you want to have, right? And if you go your own way, as I said, the system is unable to track you anymore. If you stop doing what you're expected to do, right, they can no longer predict what you're going to do, where you're going to be. Yeah, if you stop contributing to their system, right, then they lose the energy that you are giving to them for free, and they can no longer claim to be doing things in your name with your consent. Yeah, somebody asked me recently how to deal with a fine they received for taking their child out of school without the school's permission. Yeah. Well, I haven't answered them yet. I've got to go back to them. I've just reminded myself. The answer is just say no. I'm not paying your fine. Okay. Show me where me taking my child out of school has harmed somebody. Yeah. Has that act harmed anyone or caused somebody a loss or an injury or something? Show me, right? Well, now it's not a crime. Now law doesn't come into it, right? Show me the contract that I signed that says that I will do exactly what you say. I'll do what you tell me to do regarding my child. Show me that contract, yeah? Well, if there isn't a law, there isn't contract, right, then you must own my child. Show me the bill of sale that says you own my child. The only reason they've been able to do this, the only reason they've been able to get this, this idea that you can't take your child out of their school without incurring some fine, is because people have gone along with it. And just as easily, if people stop going along with it, that whole thing has to fall. Now, I understand the fear of going against the system, right? Because you might lose money, or you might lose your job, or your status, or your health, or even your freedom, right? But all these things you're afraid of losing, right? They're being stripped from you one piece at a time. Right now, as I speak, right? They're taking everything from you very slowly. The money that you've been squirreling away, right? They're going to take it. They're going to shut the banks and say, sorry, no more money for you. Yeah? They're going to take your home. They're going to take your car. They're going to take everything you own. You will own nothing and be happy. Or else. This war is what they call the denouement. Yeah? The end game. Right? This is the final move for checkmate as far as they're concerned. Yeah? Globalism made every country dependent on every other country. Right? They also suppressed all these alternative energy devices, and there are lots of them. We're swimming in free energy. It's like a fish wondering, I'm sure there's free water around here somewhere. No, there is energy all around us. for the harvesting. But every time somebody comes up with a way of harvesting that energy, they're shut down, killed, or their invention is taken away and squirreled away in some underground base somewhere. Yeah, they've made everyone, every country, everything in this society dependent on oil. And now this war, this make-believe war, is going to collapse that oil infrastructure, and it's going to affect everything. So really, right, this is the time to start saying no. This is the time to say no, right? Because literally you have nothing to lose. Because if you wait around long enough and do nothing, you're going to lose it anyway. So this is where you start saying no. This is a time to find your own way to live. Find your own purpose. This is when you stop paying taxes, fines, bills. You stop feeding the beast. You stop doing all the things that is expected of you. No. You stop doing all the things that's expected of you. If you spend your life doing all the things you have to do, then you realise you haven't lived your life. You've just done what everyone expects you to do. How do you do that? Well, first thing, get yourself a dumb phone. I've got, the dumbest little Nokia, right? That it makes phone calls and it makes texts most of the time. And it lasts, the battery lasts for days, right? And you go out and get yourself a SIM card, right? You pay it with cash. Now you're not tied to the phone and they can't track you, right? Get yourself a mobile internet hub, right? Again, pay as you go and pay it for it with cash, okay? You can still remain connected to people, but not be trackable, not be controllable. And more importantly, I don't know if you remember how Israel was able to murder some of his enemies by saying they sold them explosive pages. No, they didn't sell them explosive pages. Think about it. A mobile phone, has explosive in it, right? The lithium battery, right? You expose that lithium battery to water, right? It will explode, okay? So now you've got an explosive tied to a radio receiver, which is now connected to your name, right? And most people carry that explosive device either next to their heart or next to their private parts, okay? So I don't think that Israel, purposely put explosives in certain pages and sold them to their enemies. No, they sold everybody a personal explosive device. That's what I believe. And you know what? If I can think of that, you can bet they've done it. It's it's just obvious. Anyway, I'm going off track a bit. So yeah, just get yourself a dumb phone that's now not connected to you. Right? Get a mobile internet that's not connected to you. Right? And social media. Start getting rid of social media. If you feel you still have to have a social media, well, dump your profile and start a new one that's not connected to you. You can then sort of start connecting up to friends again, right? But again, it's now no longer connected to you, right? Create it with a fake name, right? Create a family trust and put all your property into that trust. So now your house, your car is no longer registered to you. This is mass non-compliance, social defiance. It removes you from their system. It makes you a wild card in their system. I watched a video, and this years ago. It was a man who made a stand of defiance, right? When the petrol prices went crazily up, like they're doing now, he went into the petrol station and he said, he got a full tank of petrol. He said, "Right, I'm not paying the price that you're charging me. It's wrong. It's just this company making unjust profits. I'll pay what I think is reasonable for this petrol, right? But I'm not paying that full price. Here's my reg number. Here's my address. You want to prosecute me? Go ahead. But I'm not doing it." And he walked out. He paid like a certain amount, a percentage of that price, and he walked out.
So that's how much they're trying to charge me. Show you how much we're going to pay them.
Yeah, next day. That's fine, thank you. Cheers.
Right, pump number 11, please.
That's 131.
Right, just so you know I'm recording,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
That's all I'm paying for my fuel.
Okay.
Alright, it's I'm making a stand of defiance, alright, which actually is not illegal, right? I'm not stealing your fuel, I'm paying what that fuel is worth. Alright, there's my registration number, my van.
Right.
Alright. I'm paying for a product. I'm not being ripped off by these companies no more.
Okay.
Right? And I've been doing it since they've started doing this, and I've had no contacts from it. So you're more than welcome to report my van and report me. It's called a stand of defiance, which is a loophole. No, which is a loophole in the law against getting ripped off by people with fuel.
Okay.
So I'm not stealing. I'm making it perfectly clear that I'm paying for what that fuel is worth.
Okay.
All right. So my registration plate is out there.
Okay,
So
I'm
if you
gonna
want to
write
report
that
me
down.
to the police, do whatever, and I'll look forward to getting the summons through the court.
Okay.
Right.
If I just take the registration from you,
Registration's out there.
I can't.
HY12 YKK.
Okay.
Alright, I'm paying for a product. I'm not being fed up being ripped off. Alright, so if they want to report me, that's absolutely fine. Alright, I paid enough. I paid £1.40 a litre for that fuel. Alright, I'm not being ripped off anymore by these companies, alright? Okay. And that's how you do it.
I think that's what we could do, and that's what I think what you should do, right? Stop paying full price, right? Say, I think the taxes on petrol, right, are somewhere between 65 to 75%. So, at the most 75% of what you're paying at the petrol pump is going directly to the government, okay? That is wrong. So, go in there, only pay 25% of the price. If we all did that, the petrol companies aren't going to be losing out. They're still getting the their money for it. But it's the government that are no longer raping us every which way. Yeah. I'm planning to release the process that we're using in the mortgage project to everyone, so they can stop paying their mortgage and challenge the fraudulent behaviour, fraudulent activities of the bank. Right? Stand against it, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's the banks or the Epstein class who own the banks, who own the government. Right? So let's strike back at them at their biggest weapon, the mortgage that has actually been thieving land and property and our lives from us, right? From the very beginning. You can go your own way. Fleetwood Mac got it right. Thanks for listening.